You might have read just recently that there is an increased and significant threat of your devices being hacked, whether that is your laptop, your phone, even your TV or your fridge or anything else that connects to the internet for that matter. And I'm going to tell you what I do about it in this video, both for myself and for my law firm. And don't worry, I'm not going to blind you with the science, but I do want to tell you enough so that you understand the problem and then how to fix it. And to do so, I'm going to start by asking you, if you were walking around the street, would you give your phone number out to everybody that you meet on the street? Of course not. But why not? Well, first of all, because if everyone's got your phone number, you're going to receive loads of junk that you didn't want to receive. But secondly, if someone takes that phone number and any snippet of information that they can get from you, perhaps by talking to you, then they might be able to find out lots more information about you, and they might be able to send you stuff which is malicious, might help to hack your phone and all of these kind of things. So of course you wouldn't do that. You would only give your number out to trusted people. So now you might be asking, well, what's that got to do with your laptop and your other devices and security browsing the internet at home or in a coffee shop? Well, every time one of your devices connects to the internet, it must do so through some kind of modem, and even before that, some kind of router, but each of which will connect to the internet via an IP address. IP simply stands for Internet Protocol. Think of this as a digital address for the modem, and then each device will be assigned an IP address, and it will usually be just a couple of digits at the end that changes to make it your device on the network. So let's say you're on the internet at home, you have an internet service provider, that is BT, Sky, Virgin, whoever it is. They give you a modem, usually with a router attached, or you might use your own router, but you have an IP address to connect to the internet. That IP address can tell other people roughly where you live. It won't necessarily tell them the exact house, but it will certainly tell them the general location of where you live. Now here's the problem. Every time you browse the internet, other websites and therefore companies behind them anywhere in the world can read this IP address to get an idea of where you live. And secondly, any information that you transmit through your modem to other websites, they can generally read all of that information because it's not necessarily encrypted. Particularly if some companies are relaying information in between, or perhaps pretending to be another company, then your information goes to that company and it's not necessarily secure. And this includes, by the way, your internet service provider. So yes, your internet service provider will be able to see all of your activity online, as well as the companies that own and run the websites that you visit. So you know when you see all those adverts of, do you want to see X, Y, or Z in your area, or so-and-so in your area is doing whatever? All of those adverts come about because those companies know where you live. Even worse still, however, if you're in a public place, typically a coffee shop, which will also have a router and a modem, and you might be sitting in the coffee shop and someone behind you may be desperately trying to intercept your communication or to snoop on your laptop with a view potentially of finding out more information about you, to steal your identity, to hack your system, and so on. Now when you think of accessing your bank accounts, all of your information is going through that modem. You would ideally like that all to be secured, not just by the bank on their end, but between your computer and the modem and the bank. But browsing the internet is not the only way you're giving out your IP address. Every time you send an email out, your IP address can be contained within the header information of that email that you almost never see. If you click on a link, that obviously goes to another computer which will track your IP address. Clicking on adverts, chatting in online forums, all of these sorts of things can give out your IP address. What might alarm you, however, is that tracing your IP address to find out where you live is not in and of itself illegal. Unless, of course, it's being done for the purposes of a crime, which I hope goes without saying. And just like your mobile phone, having the IP address by itself doesn't necessarily allow someone to hack you. But then let's say you've got a CCTV system that's connected to your network, or you've got some other kind of device that you've bought on the cheap online that's connected to your home network. Now, again, without going into the science of it, each of these devices have what we call ports. Think of a port a bit like a door. So every device, when communicating with another device, needs to have some kind of doorway, some way of accessing and communicating with that other device on the network, and indeed the network itself. Each device can have hundreds, if not thousands of ports, any of which can be open at any one time. Now here's the significant problem. Lots and lots and lots of these devices over time have been proven to be insecure because they leave some of these ports open. Think of this like leaving your front door wide open all the time just in case someone needs to come visit you. Of course, you wouldn't do that, but you'd be surprised just how many of these devices that you buy and you set up on your home network and you use them at home, how many of these devices have one of these ports open so that anyone can connect to that device if they know your IP address, the fact that you might have any one of these devices, which might have any one of a number of thousands of different ports open at any time. If they know your IP address and they suspect that you have one of these devices that might have a port open, they might be able to access any of these devices that are on your network, any of which might have access to information that you don't want them to have. For example, if you remember the story that I told you about at least a couple of months ago, where it was a baby monitoring device which literally had a camera and a microphone watching and listening to the room and had the ability for someone to talk through a speaker on that device. A lady was woken up to the sound of another man talking to her baby. She thought it was her husband at first, but then when she went into the room, she realized that someone was talking to her baby through one of these devices that she'd bought on the internet. So now if you think about all of those devices that you might have at home, let alone in a public coffee shop where there might be lots of these devices that you don't know about, now you can see why it is so important to hide your IP address and to have an increased level of security across all of your devices. Now, I do this using software called NordVPN. Now, I'm required to tell you that this video is sponsored. However, as I've said to you before, I would never recommend something to you that I don't personally use myself. You can see from this screenshot here that I have used NordVPN since December 2020, and I've used my own card and my own money to pay for it. In fact, I think I had a discount from one of Casey Neistat's videos because I'm a big fan of his when he did a video with Nord, and I had a great discount using his code at that time. But now you are in luck too, because with the link that's on screen and is in the description below, you can get a whopping 72% discount on a 2-year plan for NordVPN, which you can use on all of your devices, which will hide your IP address, your browsing, and add several layers of security across all of your devices, whether you use iPhone, Android phones, MacBooks, Windows machines, you name it. NordVPN works across all of these devices. It doesn't slow down your internet connection because I've tested this and I use it all the time. But most importantly, it will hide your IP address and add these several layers of security. So in simple terms, when you access the internet, let's say when you access your bank and you're in a coffee shop, all of your information will be encrypted and secured by the software before it goes anywhere else, meaning no one else can read that information, no one else can intercept that information, and importantly, no one can get the IP address or anything else from your laptop without it going through these layers of security first. There are lots of other benefits with Nord as well. Let's say you watch films online, you can even make those websites think that you're in the United States, so then you can get access to all of the films and programs that are only available in the United States, not available in the UK, which immediately massively expands what you're able to watch online, because you wouldn't be able to watch those unless you're in the States. But anyway, back to the subject of cybersecurity. Think of your computer and any device on your network whatsoever as having thousands of doors which could be open at any one time. In fact, need to be open lots of times. But if there is a flaw in the security of the software that any of these devices is running on, which is not uncommon these days, then people might, with your IP address, be able to connect to any one of these devices using some kind of exploit or software manipulation to access these devices. Then they could be listening to you, watching you, or hacking your machines, stealing your information, and all kinds of things, all of which you can prevent by using NordVPN. So I have to say I'm really excited to be working with NordVPN because I've used it myself. I think it's fantastic. They've allowed me to pass on a huge 72% discount to you off a 2-year plan, which you can access using the link in the description below. And if you're worried about it being difficult to use, it really isn't. You can see on screen here, you literally click Quick Connect. It will connect you to the nearest available server, and that's it. No other technicalities, no annoying pop-ups, no adverts. It's just as simple as connect and you're safe online. So just to reiterate, I would never recommend anything to you that I don't genuinely use myself and believe in myself. So I would strongly urge everyone to check out that link in the description and secure yourself online. Thank you for watching.